We are Wicked Local. We're back. He's Max Bowen, the editor of the Bill Rick and Minuteman, that fine publication that hits stands on Thursdays. Let's bring in our next guest, Max.
All right. Well, this next guest is for all you literary buffs out there. He is the author and publisher of this book of poetry. Today, then tomorrow. We're joined now by Burlington's own Andy Levine.
Thank you, Max. Thank you, Jack, for having me on here. I appreciate
it. Great to come in, and you've kind of circumvented it all, buddy. Not only do you write,
man.
You publish as well. You know, to make sure that you would be a published poet. You went out and started your own publishing company as well.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of figured when I was in college, I started Vision Books, my company, and I kind of thought that the definition of publishing is just making available for the public.
Right.
And, I like doing it because it's a challenge. It gives me creative control. It's good. It lets me kind of work on my own timeline and deadlines. And
do you find it difficult, though, having to wear, two hats? And it's kind of coming from two different sides of your brain, right? That very creative poetry writing side, and then the other, business, pay the bill side.
Well, I'm not paying the bills by it.
All right. Yeah.
No, it is hard. I mean, throughout the process, with this book that I just released, I got to wear, like you said, a lot of hats. I got to be, first and foremost, the writer, which I hope I do an okay job with that. Then I have to be the editor and the graphic designer, the web designer, the marketer, the CEO, the janitor, the on the street trying to get people to read it. So.
Right, and the guy who's got to go out and do the press for it as well.
Yes.
Now, one thing that we were joking about during the break, but it's actually a very serious question. Are you a good boss to yourself? I mean, do you really push yourself, or do you say, I've had a tough day, I'm going to just kick back for the night?
I don't know. I think I at this point I'm so heavy in the process. I don't think I allow myself to step back and if I'm being good to myself with it or not. But I try to make time for myself and away from this.
Okay. Now the old saying is that we are always our worst critics. Do you let other people see your work before it gets published, or do you strictly keep it to your eyes only?
I mean, for the most part. I through the editing process, which in this case took almost 2 years, I was my own editor, because I think with poetry, it's not saying that someone else couldn't help or bounce ideas, but from my personal style, I'm my own editor because I kind of know how it should sound, and but I am also I've learned to be extremely critical and self-aware of what I'm trying to write, because if I'm not, then I'm not going to get the results I want.
Andy, I love talking to authors, very interesting people, and I'm always fascinated by the writing process. That process of, whether it's putting pen to paper or, writing on your laptop or whatever. How does it work for you, especially when you're doing poetry, which I would think would be somewhat different than writing a novel or, penning a book of nonfiction. How does it work for you?
Usually, I write when inspired, usually. I usually write a lot of my work at night before I go to sleep. Sometimes if, another time strikes me, but I usually write a lot. Sometimes, I'll be on the computer doing it, but, once the initial, writing first, then I'll do a lot of, obviously, heavy editing on the computer. But, I mean, I usually write first and go from there.
Is there a theme that runs through your book, through your poetry? Any things that are in common, or
I try to look at the world. Obviously, the only way you can look at the world is through your own eyes.
Exactly.
I feel like I don't write a lot. When I was younger, I used to write about more personal things, stories that were that were important to me and involved me. And I think a lot of poets, write about, really specific things that they encounter, but I've kind of strayed away from that. I kind of try to write it more universal, and, anyone can pick it up, and, maybe something that I wrote means something to me, but you can also apply it to something else in your life.
All right. Now, this book, which contains 40 poems, took 4 years to write?
Yeah, it took 4 years to write, edit, rewrite again, rewrite a few more times, design. Yeah, the whole process took. I started in the fall. I published a book in 2006, independent, it was called, and then I started almost immediately writing my next one in about the fall of '06, and I finished in last December.
Now, when you write your poems and then go back to them later to edit them, do you sometimes find that the meaning has completely changed?
I hope not. I hope that the original. I mean, sometimes. I mean, if anything, I try to make it stronger, more clear. But sometimes I'll start off with an idea. And, it's funny, sometimes I'll write something and it won't change much from, inspiration to completion. Mm-hmm. But sometimes it will, because it needs that much work and the idea needs to be fleshed out a little more.
Okay, all right.
Do you enjoy, for lack of a better word, performing your poetry? Because sometimes it seems to me it takes on a bit of a different, not meaning, but maybe, you read a poem and you've got your own idea about, what it is or where it's going, and then you hear the person who wrote the poet perform it, if that's the right word, or read it anyway, and you go, wow, I was so far off, do you enjoy that? Do you?
I haven't done a lot of it, but I've done some readings before, and I wouldn't call myself a performer. I mean, I've seen on TV and live some more of a spoken word artists, which are extremely talented. And that's kind of, I think, almost a different. I mean, they're poets. But
is that a fine line yet somehow
I
different?
think so, because some poems, I think my work is meant more to be read and on paper than because a lot of great spoken word artists can act out and show emotion and different tones of voice and movement. I think it's. Each is kind of its own. It's kind of like hip hop. It's kind of
exactly. That's kind of where I was going. What do you want to accomplish when you put something down on paper? When you're finished with a poem, and someone picks it up, halfway across the country or the world, and what do you want them to get from it? Is there anything special, like mood you're trying to evoke?
I think with every poem, I try to have an idea. I'm just trying to convey that one idea. And, I think poetry isn't for everybody, but I think there's something in there for everyone. Again, going back to my many hats, I was the chief marketer of Vision Books, so my slogan I've been using to sell the book is "There's something in here for you."
Ah.
And the book, actually, when I dedicate it, I don't dedicate it to my dog or my mom, even though I love them
poor
both.
Dog.
But the dedication I put in all my books is for you. Because I write for the reader. I don't write to exercise my own demons, but to write, to maybe help, something that can inspire you or have you see a different view in life.
Okay, Andy, I was just actually looking through the intro and the dedication, and you have an intro here from Charles Hyde.
Yes.
Who is this?
Charlie, or Charles Hyde, is someone I work with. When I was doing research. I wanted to have someone write. I never had someone write an intro or a foreword to my book, and I was doing some research, and it should be written by someone who you consider an expert in the field. Now, Charlie is just a great guy I work with, and he has, he was in the military. He's been around the world. He's kind of my guru for politics, and we talk a lot about stuff like that, life. And I figured, I respect this man very much. I wanted to have him write it, and he agreed, and he wrote a little bit in the side, and I was very happy with what he wrote.
Very good. Does this make you the Jekyll?
Yes, to Andy's Hyde.
Yes, yeah, there you go.
There you go.